Imagine graduating from high school with flawless grades, knowing advanced math, history, grammar rules, but having no idea how to write a resume, manage a budget, or even file your taxes. Unfortunately, this scenario is more common than we'd like to admit. Too many students feel unprepared for the realities of adult life because their education never focused on practical day-to-day skills. Today, I will be discussing the education system of today's world, the problems with the system, why they're there, and finally how we can solve them. To start things off, many students finish school without the skills to navigate critical aspects of adulthood. For example, this could include financial planning, credit, debt, basic communication, and emotional problem solving. According to an education reform site written in 2025, life skills curriculum should include budgeting, saving, investing, and debt management, and then also as well how to understand credit scores and insurance. Beyond personal finance, real-life skills also include decision-making, conflict resolution, and practical planning skills that help in everyday life that aren't just academic. Without these, young people often struggle. For example, in the article by the New York Post, a large portion of Americans say they learn almost nothing about money in school, and some even trust Google more than what they were taught in the classroom. Moreover, a recent study by Fries, Gangel, and Shrivo demonstrated that financial literacy courses have a positive cause and effect long-term financial health, covering things like confidence in managing debt, spending habits, and overall financial well-being. To understand why schools overlook these essential skills, we need to look back at how the modern education system was built. The roots of our school system go back to the 19th and early 20th centuries, and its structure was heavily influenced by industrial area needs. In the 19th century, Common School movement created public schools focused on the big 3 R's: reading, writing, and arithmetic, intending to instill moral instruction and basic civic duty. As the 20th century progressed, reforms in the progressive era emphasized efficiency and preparing students to be disciplined workers rather than skilled decision makers for complex adult lives. Thinkers like John Dewey did advocate for teaching everyday skills and democratic participation, but much of the system was retained as academic and obedience-based model. During the high school movement from about 1910 to 1940, as found in the Prisma article by Emily Vino, states secondary schools expanded rapidly, but their curricula often focus more on broad academic content or life adjustment in very limited ways, not necessarily what we would call today real-life financial or personal skills. So our school system was built largely for an industrial past, did not prioritize real skill instruction, and the legacy of that remains today, but we don't have to accept that as permanent. Some things we can do to solve this problem would be have math classes teach real-life applications such as interest, budgeting, and investment. This is said in the article by Stuart Draper. And then also, many teachers lack training to teach personal finance and other life skills. According to one analysis written by George Smith at Volavantage, there's limited ability of trained educators and insufficient curriculum resources. And then lastly, partnerships with community organizations, local business, and financial institutions can help provide both expertise and hands-on learning. Today I've discussed how schools are failing to prepare students for real-life responsibilities and how failure is deeply rooted in the historical development of our education system. Education shouldn't stop at exams and textbooks. If we really want to equip future generations for life skills as core part of education, we can build a society as confident, competent, and resilient adults. This could be seen in my business program I did in high school called SciVax. I partook in this system because it wasn't just about math, reading, and literature. It had those components, but also added a business and real-life aspect to it. It stood for the Center of International Business and Communications. So not only did we learn about the business side of things, but also how to communicate with other people in the business side, business owners, and how to get a more hands-on experience. This is said by Stuart Draper in one article, and he said that schools should adopt mandatory standards for these real-life skills, just like they do for core academics. That's one thing Cyback's intended on doing throughout his whole career, is that not only do you learn these real skills, but you're tested on them and you put it into place in real life projects. We did many internships and met with many different business owners to help us learn the ins and outs of business and communications in real life examples. I think that almost all schools should have this program, and it should be required that students take at least one of these courses. There are many ways we can solve these problems, but that's the number one I would like to preach to you guys. Thank you so much for listening.